Recording is on.
Welcome to DXgov governance discussion for Wednesday, June 2nd, 1500 UTC. Starting first with the proposal roundup. Five on mainnet, there are 5 proposals boosted or pending boosting. One first is a worker proposal for Roy, who had been working on Omen. Next is a proposal to claim mainnet rep for Caney Fork. This is a proposal I submitted in order to start the process of syncing mainnet rep awards. Given the price of gas the last week or so, I think it's an opportunity for a lot of others. I'm hoping more people will take advantage of this to claim their mainnet rep. Just make sure and paste and paste the previous proposals from XDI where you've earned that rep. Then there's Treasury diversification number 20, which is ETH to stables. This is a couple to 250 ETH conversion. I think it's SUSD and USDT. But we just had another, we had 2 proposals passed last week. I'm going to have a maybe brief update on Treasury later. And then there is additional funding for Omen Squad 0.3, which was just boosted. And I do want to highlight, I think this proposal is going to cause some problems because it's not using a relayer to go to the multi-sig. And so I don't know if we want to
it's going to fail, right? Yeah. It's going to fail. So, I mean, yeah, we can simulate it to verify that it's going to fail, but yeah, maybe just.
I guess you can't, the relayer contract is deployed for that's a specific, for each multi-sig or something, right? You would have to have a separate one for that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it could be sent to the existing multi-sig, and that could just forward it to. Then, I mean, that would work potentially as well.
Do we know this problem? Do you know if this problem is also on XDI?
What do you think, Augusto? I not probably, but I'm not sure.
Most probably, yes, but yeah, not entirely sure. Even if it is in exile, I mean, we just need to deploy another ETH relayer to the Omen Squad multi-signature, or send it to the other multi-signature and then to the other multi-signature. So it depends.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect it would be a problem in XI because it's the old transfer function, which puts a limit on the amount of gas. And because, the multi-sig, I guess the newer Gnosis safe multi-sigs are after the Berlin hard fork are doing something with a fallback function, which uses more than the hard-coded limit. So unless Gnosis safe is not upgraded on XDI or somehow, or XDI has not done the Berlin hard fork, but I think those are both probably true. So I would expect it to fail as well.
Sky, I don't know what we want to do about maybe getting this proposal. I think it would be fine to maybe we could split it up into requesting proposal on XDI and mainnet if that would expedite it, but it sounds like we're going to have to deploy a relayer contract regardless.
If you want, I can deploy the relayer contract. If you need, I can deploy the relayer contract to the Omen Squad multi-signature, just like I did to our multi-signature. So let me know if you need it, and I do it.
Yeah, I think that's better than sending it through the dev multi-sig, right? Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and do that,
yes.
Then I'll just
check
how to do a new proposal once that's done.
Okay. Sky, can you send me the address on Keybase, and I'm going to deploy it after the call.
Yeah.
Okay, moving along. The last proposal that is boosted or pending boosting on mainnet is a multi-call scheme proposal to create tokens.swapper.eth subdomain and point it to the swapper JSON list. I'm not sure if Federico is on if he wants to explain it, but I think this is to create the list of all lists almost. So this would be like a multi-chain token list that we can reference across the products and will be hopefully even used by other people as a token list, rather than what we have now is on each individual chain would have its own token list.
Yeah, you've explained
right,
it
Federico?
perfectly. Yeah, you've explained it perfectly. And yeah, I mean, the idea is to do this also for Omen, and I'm talking with Geronimo to like kind of coordinate this. But yeah, that's exactly what's happening, Chris. You've explained it perfectly.
Yeah, I think this is really cool because as we go to multi-chain, right, and how tokens are going to have like maybe different addresses, maybe they're not. Being able to reference this, I think, is going to be really, really key and exciting. And I think like the token list is an underrated kind of piece of infrastructure, I think, that DXDAO could own and kind of support the our multi-chain efforts. And I guess we would update. Would the update to, if we were adding new tokens to the list? I guess in the previous system, that list actually lived on chain. But I guess in this one, you would like make a PR to the JSON file, and then you would like basically like update that there, or how would we add new tokens to this list?
So there's a project on GitHub where you can add basically tokens, and yeah, Geronimo is working on it currently. And there's basically those tokens are divided by chain for increased clarity. It's not a requirement actually, and then there's a command that takes all of these like per chain files and puts them together in one single list. And once you have that list, which is nothing but a JSON file, you just upload it to IPFS and pin it. And then once you have the IPFS hash, you can go to Alchemy and do the proposal to point tokens.swapper.eth or tokens.omen.eth to that IPFS hash. And that's how it's done. So it's also like it becomes easier in a way to update the list, just because if you want to update a token, it doesn't matter in which network it is. You always go to mainnet and always do that proposal. While before, with the method we had before, you had to go in, like if you wanted to add a token on XDAI, for example, you had to go to the XDAI base and do the proposal there. So and it was all like each, as you said, each chain had its own list in a dedicated contract, which now it's a bit easier to handle everything, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else on mainnet proposals? Any comments, thoughts? Okay, shifting over to XDAI, I think 9 proposals boosted or pending boosting. The worker or contributor proposals are ZET for April and May, Cure 000 for May and June, Caden and LNLHB.com or Chris Pearson. I did go to LNLHB.com and I couldn't find out what that was, but those are the existing contributor proposals out there now. And then we have 2 rep boosts, one for Luigi Lemon, who was actually nominated this month for a community rep boost. He's been a really active person in the Discord, lots of thoughts, and had been participating in the buyback discussion a lot. And then Samyak, which is from the quarterly Discord rep boost. And then shifting over to buyback proposals. So there are currently 2 buyback proposals live, number 6 and number 7. Both have funding proposals along with multi-call scheme proposals. I think they are one is set to pass, I think, Friday morning, and the other will be Sunday. And I think they've all been boosted there. We're going to do a little discussion on like the progress of those in a second. But I wanted to talk about the next proposal that are also in the multi-call scheme is the first withdrawal proposals from the Gnosis protocol. So with the buyback program, and whenever using the Gnosis protocol relayer, WETH is sent to this Gnosis protocol relayer, and then orders are placed on Gnosis protocol. But eventually, those tokens need to come back to DXDAO. So we just started the first proposal to request the first DXD acquired that will come back to DXDAO. This actually requires two proposals. One that is a request withdrawal proposal that needs to have the token you're requesting in the amount. And then the second proposal is just a withdrawal proposal, which actually just sends the funds back. Now, these are pretty tricky because you actually need to execute these proposals back to back in the next batch, right? So the way Gnosis protocol works is it runs on like 5-minute batches. So the first proposal needs to be executed, and then in the next 5-minute batch, the next proposal needs to be executed. So we'll do this. I think these are set to pass on Monday morning, and try to coordinate those executions in line with that. And then after DX, and so there's I think there's 230. The current proposal for 234 DXD to be requested. And then we'll have to do the same thing for the WETH for orders that have not been filled and excess there. And then the other proposal that I guess is not boosted or pending boosting that we just had, I just wanted to update and had a little bit of problem with. So we've been trying to provision liquidity on the stake WETH pair on Swapper on XDAI. And just to recap, we had some problems because we couldn't access stake token from the Alchemy UI. So we had to get an update from the Alchemy team to do that. And then we did that. And then we just tried with this first proposal. And for some reason, it's not recognizing that the DAO has stake tokens. So we'll have to figure that out to see how we can get that liquidity on Swapper.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I can take a look. We could try calling it directly from the smart contract. Might work, but we'll see. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for, yeah, Sky, I guess that's not, should have looked at that. It's not in the proposal one, but you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So what happens is once the proposal goes away, like you have to basically, it doesn't even show as a proposal in the competition scheme on like the main scheme page. You have to like go into proposals and then like click on, I guess there's 3 proposals that have ever happened, or 3 competitions that have ever happened. Then you can go in and you can find it. But this is the link to get straight to it. And so the submission period ends in 5 hours, and we have exactly 100 submissions so far, which is cool. I don't know how many individual people have entered markets, but I think between 10 and 20. And then once the submission period ends for markets, and for context, this is Omen, the prediction market platform. We're basically the DAO has a competition scheme that allows the DAO to like run competitions with prizes, like prize amounts. So like we're using XDAI and reputation as like prize pools. And then like once the competition kicks off, that reputation and XDAI funds are set aside and the competition happens. There's a submission period, and then rep holders will get to vote on their top 10 markets that they think are best, and then at the end of the voting period, the 10 winners with the highest amount of reputation that are voted on will automatically get their shares of the prize pool. And so this is a way to source markets from the community that should be created and funded on Omen. And so it's a way to get the community involved. So the key is once the voting period starts, like really rep holders, it's rep holders' responsibility to go through those markets and really think about which ones you think are ideal markets for Omen. And, depending on your preferences, like short term, some people think short term markets are more interesting. Some people think, depending on the topic, there can be interesting markets, and so it's really up to rep holders to, on average, decide what we think would be 10 awesome markets to go onto Omen, basically.
So Sky, I actually think we have another alchemy issue here with the 100 submissions. I think there's been more than 100 submissions. It's only displaying 100. So I don't know how we should try to deal with that, if we could get it fixed in time, or how we, because it's about to end, right? And then
in 5 hours, yeah.
I'm not quite sure what the best way to handle it is, but I believe there is an issue where it's only displaying like 100, even though there's more.
Huh.
We can talk to DXgov about it.
Is there a way to see, like, how did you know that? And like, is there a way to see the actual text of other markets like on chain in some way or not?
I'm not sure about that. Seeing it, Nathan had mentioned, or somebody had mentioned in the chat, that they thought I was having an issue. And then I looked at the smart contract, and if you look at the transactions, you can actually count the number of transactions on BlockScout that result in a submission. And when I had looked, it was more than 100, I believe. So that is probably much higher now.
All right.
Probably at least more than 120, 130. And the problem is you can't see the text data on BlockScout. And whenever anyone enters a new submission, it overwrites old ones on the front end. So the old ones are lost forever. So if someone suggested something a week ago and it could now be lost, and there's no way for them to confirm that they've submitted it, and they're kind of out of the competition.
So hopefully they're not lost forever. I can't say for certain whether or not they were, but I think we could try. If it's too bad we don't have Nylon here, but yeah, we should run that down basically, because it's an issue with.
Yeah, we'll add it in the DAO stack Telegram is probably the best place, right?
Yeah, and I would involve Elon because he's the most familiar with the competition scheme.
Okay, thanks.
And just another thing I noticed at the same time, there's a second issue, and that every entry has the same timestamp, and it's a really funny one. It's the 14th of May, which is like more than a week before the competition even started. So you don't really have a timestamp of when each and every participant entered their market idea. They all have the same generic timestamp, which is some weird date.
Yeah, I mean, so it sounds like we want to make sure that running this competition, we have no problems with like voting and submitting. But if there are people that submitted and did not get their proposals like counted, we may think about trying to have something to at least account for them. I don't know if that's like, 5x die to people that weren't able to enter that, or just being able to track at some point be able to track who was unable to do it. But I think like the important thing is figure out how we can vote on this. I guess it's going live in like 5 hours. So we're gonna have to be able to vote on it then and deal with it then.
Yeah, and lastly, to add to all of the complexity, when someone adds a new one and when it overrides an old one, it doesn't overwrite the oldest one. They somehow get ordered on the front end based on the alphabet somehow. So the newest one doesn't overwrite the oldest one. So you can still have the oldest one within the 100, but some random one gets overwritten and gets lost. So it's really messy.
All right. Well, I'm gonna reach out to the DAO stack guys and see if hopefully they can just extend it or something. I don't know.
I mean, it's good because we had so many submissions, right? This is literally the problem. So.
Yeah, I'm guessing that those are not lost forever. There's somewhere, and so maybe we can get at least a spread.
I'm looking right now. I think we should move on, but I'll update in the chat.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so just moving ahead, I wanted to carve out some time to talk about the buyback and get people's thoughts on where we're at. So let me share my screen here. So this spreadsheet is meant to just give a summary of the proposals that have passed. This is all in XDI right now. So there have been 5 DXD buyback proposals that have been executed. You can see the amounts on the purchases there, and then also the price on the limit order. Of course, the limit order itself is determined by it's a 2.5% above the swapper DXD WETH pool at the time of execution, or I guess really when the Oracle contract is called. And so you can see we filled 2 orders completely. This was the first one that was passed by majority vote. And then buyback number 3 was filled completely. It actually sat there for a couple days, but that was filled completely. And then buyback number 2 was filled, I think it was, 12% here, and that order is actually expired. So that WETH is in Gnosis protocol and needs to be returned to DXgov. And then buyback number 4 and 5 are currently live on Gnosis protocol now. And just to kind of put the numbers on this, right? So there's the current order for the 0.1181 order, the current price on Swapper right now is 0.111. So there is a arbitrage opportunity. How big that opportunity is there. So that's where we are now in terms of what's been acquired. So that in total, there's been 235 DXD acquired, which is like $71,000. So the program was up to $1 million. So we still have a bit of ways to go, but this is the 235, and this was the amount that was requested in the withdrawal proposal that was just submitted this morning. In terms of volume, so I think one of the things, like how big are the trades, I think one of the things that has surprised me is that the volume has not picked up. It's actually declined. And so I've been tracking the DXD on-chain volume in a spreadsheet, and it's and so I have the 7-day trailing average. So that just takes the average of each of the last 7 days. And so you can see here over the last 6 months, and I've spread it out across the 5 big on-chain pools: the Uniswap one, the Balancer 80/20, the Balancer 50/50, Swapper Mainnet, and Swapper XDI. Now, of course, you can see how Swapper XDI is really taking a larger percentage of volume here, but still we're not at we're still below a lot of the levels that we were seeing even in the beginning of the year. This is the last 3 months here, just a little bit more focus on this. And so you can see the average, as I said, has been about like a little under on chain. I think it's like 115,000 over the last 3 months. And then if you look here, the last this is the last month. And I think kind of the most interesting thing to me is really like the last 10 days. And if you've been looking at the on-chain volume for DXD, it's actually declined a bit the last week because of that. And so this is preventing us, I would say, from increasing the size of the orders because the on-chain volume really is not there. And then this is also having an effect, I think, on the ability to arbitrage the orders themselves. So just a kind of couple points to talk about, right? So the status right now, we're $70,000 of 1 million DXD acquired. Is this like an arbitrage opportunity, right? Or are we trying to create a price floor? In the current buyback proposal, the 2.5% slippage is required for all of the orders, and that limits the arbitrage opportunity. And then there's also the concern about the liquidity depth on Swapper itself, and how because there's not very much there's not as much liquidity on Swapper, you can't really go in and buy the DXD from the Swapper pool and sell on Gnosis protocol, because buying on the Swapper pool will very quickly move the price. So the liquidity depth is a little bit of concern there. And then, as I said, DXD volume has not really increased that much over the last week or two. And then kind of lastly, this brings up to the question of like using Gnosis protocol V1. Obviously I think it is harder to sell into these orders. We created a guide to try to have people be able to access this from Mesa, but I think obviously most of the volume is still on Swapper, Uniswap, and elsewhere, and that's where most of the trades are there. So do we want to continue using Gnosis Protocol v1. And then just for another like kick off the discussion, there was a post from PRF Noob here that kind of had, so should we be putting goals forward for what we're trying to do in terms of the buyback, basically? Like, do we want to have X amount of DXD by this, or does the price of DXD want to be something, and should we kind of commit to those? So yeah, that's just what I thought. I wanted to open the floor for thoughts or discussions on buyback.
Yeah, I'm curious why you think the trading volume should increase. Like, the way I felt about that is that we're actually taking DXD out of the market, and I'm not sure if that should increase like trading volume.
The only reason I was thinking it would increase trading volume is purely just like the arbitrage opportunity, right? Like right now, I don't know what the gas prices are, but like you could theoretically buy DXD on all of the pools, Balancer 80-20, Balancer 50-50, Uniswap, Swapper, and Swapper XDAI, buy a little bit of that and then go sell it on Gnosis Protocol. And I just assumed that like arbitrage opportunity would lead to more activity on those other pools, but it really hasn't. I think that maybe maybe the arbitrage opportunity isn't that much, but I was expecting the like almost like the volume to ripple through other pools, but it hasn't yet.
Yeah, so as far as I see it, we're actually like creating floors, which is also a nice result of the buyback. Every time ETH kind of dipped, DXD price dipped, I think we are correlated to Ether. And every time this happened, I think those limit orders have been filled because they were arbitrage opportunities. And to RF Noob's like point, I'm not sure if we need goals. I think having like 2 orders filled already is a success for me. Like seeing that, I think 2 out of 3 have been filled completely already. So I think it's working nice.
I'd add on the Gnosis protocol relayer. So I mean, Gnosis is intending to sunset that product. So we are actually going to be forced at some point to not be using that and to use something else. And I've been previously mentioned this idea of building a relayer that would buy directly on Swapper. And I actually had a call with Nico about that just yesterday, and he's actually looking into that now. So hopefully that will be another option that DXgov has in the near, not too distant future. I think if you want to talk about how that would work, I think it would need a certain amount of liquidity on Swapper for that to be a viable approach. And then just another comment on the floor versus the way I've understood this buyback is, especially with the framing of $1 million buyback, is that the intent is not really to put a floor, but rather to complete the buyback. It's like an active buyback, not a floor. Not that it's necessarily bad to put a floor. I'm just saying, like, my understanding of the intent of this buyback was to acquire DXD, right?
But this means we need to the simplest way to actually get the goal done, which was ratified by the DXgov 1 million USD in DXD. We should just increase the premium and then execute.
Exactly. It boils down to the 2.5% with the current slippage conditions is just not enough, right? To induce the buyback.
So if I can say something. So with my post, I meant to clarify exactly the goal. For example, in the chat now, Venki is writing that the goal should be to buy the maximum amount of DXD for 1 million. And Nathan says that instead the ratio should increase. So the two are not the same thing, right? So for example, if our goal is just to buy as many DXD as possible for 1 million, a very slow procedure that can take 1 year is just fine, right? Like it's going on right now. Instead, if the objective was to raise the price of DXD, well, maybe it's not working right now. So yeah, my post was basically just to clarify the goals and to discuss them yeah, together, as you are doing greatly in this call.
Yeah, I think to me, the goal is to demonstrate DXDAO and rep holders' commitment to DXD as a core part of its financial value. And I think that comes from kind of demonstrating that's why kind of buying DXD is a way of instilling confidence in DXD in the market. And there's a lot of different ways, I guess, to do that. But to me, like, the goal is really is kind of making DXD, showing rep holders and DXDAO's commitment to DXD.
The buyback proposal is not too fresh in my head, so I'd have to go back and read it. But I would agree with, like, if the goals are not clear, then that it would make sense to try to clarify so that people have a consistent understanding of it.
One question, so I think that I'm not entirely sure on. So we've got 235 DXD right now. That is worth like $72,000 right now. But we don't actually have an easy way of calculating the dollar amount of that, right? So is the dollar amount of that determined by when the WETH was sent to the relayer? Is the dollar amount determined by that, by when the actual order was completed? And then is the dollar amount determined by, like, just the current price of DXD? I don't know if that will eventually, just as something we're noticing as we count and track this. I don't think we have clarity on what that should be.
Yeah, another thing to clarify, I guess. Yeah.
It's also very difficult to find out when orders are, like, confirmed on Gnosis protocol. So it's really hard. I was trying to actually figure out this to be able to do it at the time of the trade complete, but it's a little bit tricky for that. Yeah,
and I think this issue that the slippage of 2.5% is not enough. The fact that we're seeing that on XDAI, it's only going to be worse on mainnet due to the gas costs of mainnet, and especially with Gnosis protocol being expensive and the liquidity still being thin and spread out across multiple exchanges. It's going to require a decent amount of gas costs to move the requisite DXD, which I think is besides the fact that Gnosis protocol is going to be sunset, I think that's another argument to move forward with direct buying on Swapper. That would not be a limit, but yeah.
I was just going to say, so how would that change, like, what we would need to do? Because I guess that one would probably be just a market buy, presumably. There wouldn't even be like maybe the acceptable slippage or something, but, like, what would the parameters of that need to be?
Yeah, exactly. We could put parameters on, like, the slippage, the acceptable slippage, or even the acceptable price. But it could be as simple as, verify there is a minimum amount of liquidity on Swapper that's acceptable, and then execute a market buy.
Yeah, I would still, like, finish up the $1 million buyback, and then push. I think push the whole DXD into Swapper on XDAI or mainnet. That's up to the discussion. And then we could actually continue with, like, market buys through Swapper pools.
Yeah, and there's already, like, plans, right, for farms. So I think it actually goes hand in hand with that. Like, if that rolls out kind of as has been described so far, I don't know if we have if it's actually passed anything yet, but if the liquidity gets deeper, then I think the market buys start to make a lot more sense.
And the liquidity on Swapper and both mainnet and XDAI has actually gotten deeper over the last 2 weeks. Like, there's just been a little kind of slow trickle of liquidity for DXD specifically flowing into Swapper, and I think that's, like, a good thing, and we can encourage it more. Yeah, I feel like we're kind of in, like, building to something where in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the ability to execute trades, orders on Swapper will be there. Because the liquidity itself will kind of be there, assuming we run with the farming campaigns.
Is there already a date for executing on the farming campaigns?
So that's actually, I think, the next we can go back to the buyback as we talk about this, but just the next discussion item is that the launch farming can for Swapper beta launch. So obviously, I think that the campaign won't launch until Swapper beta launches. So we're still waiting, I think, on the proposal to update the ENS on that. But the only thing that would be needed for the XDAI campaigns is the actual DXD, and that's why the DXD withdraw proposal that will pass on Monday is important to that. So I think that this could be, I feel like this farming campaign that we've kind of agreed on the overall structure, at least on XDAI, the proposal could come in any day now. If we wanted to, we don't have to wait for that withdrawal proposal to pass. We could even do it before, assuming that the DXD will be there when it goes. But I think we should probably look to send that proposal like a day or two after the Swapper ENS proposal goes. And just for the reference, the kind of plan that we seem to be, and this is for XDAI. I think mainnet will take a little bit more time because of the proposal. But how would people think about moving forward with at least the XDAI campaigns outlined here with the proposal in the next couple days, assuming the beta release of Swapper? As John said, I think this is like precisely would build liquidity on Swap. Like if you do this, then then the buyback can come in and just go right on use Swapper there.
Yeah, one of the points that was being made in Discord by Hedgehog was that, from his perspective or her perspective, I guess, I don't know, the Hedgehog's perspective, like the goal of the buyback is to acquire as much DXD at as low a price as possible. And so the point they were making was you don't want to incentivize, they were saying that's one thing, and then not to incentivize too much liquidity because the prices are low. But I think that I want to revisit that conversation with Hedgehog because being able to do the buyback at these prices is kind of enabling his initial point, right? So I think there's a balance there.
With I think following his perspective, and I think it's really how would the DAO, basically DXDAO, maximize value purely on that? And for that, it would be, like you said, acquiring DXD at the lowest prices. But that is I think that's the model that we're maybe not as happy with because of how slow it's taking, right? Because it's we're providing support to DXD and just acquiring it at the lowest possible price. And then eventually that will push up the price. And that will probably be the most optimal way to acquire the most DXD. But that's probably not the quickest way to do it. And, I think we have lots of other priorities, specifically, I think with Swapper farming campaigns. And so how can we, I think the priority of moving this more quickly maybe supersedes the desire to maximize the value extraction out of the buyback itself.
I had an extensive chat on Discord with Hedgehog about a week ago, and he kind of wants the best of both worlds, which is impossible. He kind of wants to eat his cake and have it too. I believe the best approach would be something the RF Noob pointed at about a month ago in a DAO Talk post. Basically, we should not care about how much we spend on buying it, and we should increase the price at which we're buying it so that it drives demand for people to buy DXD on the market and Arbit to sell it to us until it reaches until the market price reaches the price point at which we're buying it, and we can set it as high as we want. We could start buying it at 1,000 per DXD, and people will rush to the market to start buying it and sell it to us, and this will actually even the price. And we will lose money short term, but this will be the most effective strategy. So, and if our aim is to increase the ratio of DXD to ETH, this should be the way to go, because if we aim at buying it as cheap as possible, then we're not achieving the goal. The main goal is like we're doing the opposite. It's just something to consider.
I'm not sure that I see what, like, you're talking about increasing the premium that like DXDAO is paying above market prices. I'm not sure that if we bought at 0.2 ETH, that would any more effectively increase the price to 0.2 ETH than buying at current market price and continually buying at current market price at whatever then current market price is until we get to 0.2 ETH. You'll just end up at 0.2 ETH, but you'll have gotten a shitload more DXD if you start buying at current market price and then keep buying at current market price until we get to 0.2 ETH. It's way more efficient. Otherwise, you're just giving out loose money, basically, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a disadvantage. Like, it's a path where we don't actually need to go, because it, like, 3 limit orders, 2 of them has been filled completely. I don't think anyone is selling, and I would say the price is already increasing because no one is selling, and at least like the smart DXD holders who kind of know that we actually like calmly buying back stuff, they don't want to sell because they know there's like a ton of buyback still coming. So I would still continue with like the calm limit order buyback we are doing now, but just like increase the premium just to push it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think the takeaways I'm hearing are, one, try to increase the premium in some way. And since I think would all require like a proposal, right? We need to do another signal proposal to try to do this. One, increase the premium in some way. 2, authorize Swapper to be a venue for trade execution, right? And so we'll need a relayer for that. And then 3 is build up the liquidity in the DXD WETH pool on Swapper through like the farming campaign. And I think like all of those together kind of move us into that direction of like increasing the arbitrage opportunity, increasing the daily volume so we can increase the buys and kind of keep maintaining the pace there. And then I think in 2 weeks, we'll see we'll maybe in a different place.
And with a new signal proposal, also an opportunity to clarify some of the things that people maybe were confused on, or the accounting issues that weren't super clear.
Yeah, the dollar one, interested for input, but cool. All right, well, we'll try to get a forum post up about this, and maybe like get a single proposal up about this too. But in the meantime, we'll continue with the buyback program as it is. And there's there's an arbitrage opportunity right now. So those of you paying attention at home. And also, it's like a way of instilling confidence. If someone buys DXD right now, they should know that someone is going to buy that, is going to put a buy order at a higher price, like in a day or in 2 days, right? And like that should give you confidence in buying DXD because you know you're going to have liquidity. Cool. 2 items I just wanted to go over quickly before we get to DXvote, Augusto. One is the mainnet rep sync check-in proposal for syncing Caney Fork rep is in mainnet queue. I think others should follow suit. I think it's important to get mainnet rep claims. So encourage others to do the same. You can use that one as a model. Second, I've noticed that the gen balance in XDXDAO and even like DXDAO is not super. I think we have how much is in XDXDAO? 6,500 gen in XDXDAO and 57,000 in DXDAO. Just wondering if we could do like a member balancer here to do this, or do we need to actually like maybe have someone acquire more gen for DXDAO? Something to think about and monitor. Which leads us to DXvote, because in the future, we maybe won't be needing the gen vote because we'll be using DXD with DXvote. So Augusto, do you want to give us an update and maybe like kind of paint a little bit more of a broader picture with Shannon Veronica on?
Yeah, sure. Well, DXgov. Let me share. I want to first show you the first proposal that we executed on XDAI, that it worked. So here we have Chuck Norris giving thumbs up. So this was the first proposal that we executed on XDAI on DXgov. It transferred Ether, DXZ, and reputation. So this is for Sharon and Veronica. This was our main need. We wanted a secure way to execute kind of flexible actions on the governance level. This is super important because it doesn't matter if you have a very good reputation distribution if the DAO is not able to execute how can I put it, like flexible action in a secure way. This means that we added a permission registry contract over the existing schemes infrastructure that we have, where we allow the DXgov to execute certain calls or maybe any call to specific addresses. So this is what I've been working on a lot based on all our needs based on previously using Alchemy from DAO Stack. This the way it works, it fetch all the information from the network that you select that you want to use. Right now, it's being deployed on Rinkeby, XDAI, and Arbitrum testnet. So every time that you change the network, is going to fetch all the information from the network you loaded, and it's going to put you in the browser, in the local browser that you're using in your local information, and you're going to be able to navigate through all the static information that is loaded internally here on your computer. So you don't need to call the graph or any centralized service. It just fetches all the information directly from the blockchain. So it's 100% decentralized this way, and all the information that you upload, like all the proposal descriptions, that is like dynamic context, is applied to IPFS, and the rest is on the blockchain itself. So just wanted to share it, this around. What we agreed on that it was going to be the 1.0 milestone was all these issues. I think it was like a month or a month and a half ago. So most of these were fixed on this pull request. That is what we are seeing right now on oh wait, I think I stopped sharing. Yeah, well, I stopped sharing. So let me share it again. Okay, these are all the issues that we agreed that was going to be involved in the version 1.0. There are currently 20 open issues, and most of them, 15 of them, should be fixed on this pull request. That later we will have to. It will be very good if other DXers from the governance squad can review that these issues were fixed, because this is related to my payment that I agreed on my contribution reward that I was going to work on those issues in order to get paid and guess the 1.0 milestone. I guess we are not in the 1.0 yet. There are not a lot of things, but few things that I would like to fix and improve, like even more, for example, the how do you go to the actions that were executed on the network from, for example, to XDAI, you click on a proposal and you see the proposal, you click on an action and you go to the transaction on the block explorer, and maybe show a bit more information in a nicer way. So to get this 1.0, if we want to call it beta version or something like that, or developer version finished, and we are going to be able to start using it on XDAI and Arbitrum. Important thing, it was already deployed on Arbitrum. It is deployed, the contracts are there, but we cannot use it yet because they have a whitelist of addresses. This means that the RPC that you communicate with Arbitrum only allows calls from certain whitelisted addresses. So it's not used for the public yet, but our contracts are deployed on Arbitrum already, and the deployment worked. What the current status right now is that we need to review all the 1.0 issues that we decided that we were going to work on. Maybe we can set up another call to finalize and decide on smaller issues or things that we want to fix before start using it like more publicly like internally between the borders before sharing it publicly, because I think it's far from being a public mainnet product yet. Even though it works, it will be great to fix and make it look a bit better and more usable and easy to navigate, because everything works, but well, for example, if you go here to DAO, you see this is not nice, right? We want to deploy, we want to show maybe we want to show the information a bit nicer. There is a lot of information that here we are not using. For example, we have all the addresses and the reputation that is distributed among the users here locally. So I can show even a pie chart of all the reputation distribution. I can show how many proposals every address created, how many votes did they do. So we can have a ranking of who voted most, who had more votes against proposals. Like, there is a lot of information here that we can show it, and it will be awesome to show it because it's not available on Alchemy. And I think it's very interesting to see, okay, which was the address who created more proposals, who voted the most, who voted on most proposals, who staked more DXG. Well, that's also another important aspect, that once it is deployed on XDAI, after we receive the audit, we are going to be using DXD as a staking token. So this is the current status. We are going to be reviewing it. The issues, I guess, with the governance squad, that will be, I think, Chris, maybe Sky, maybe John. We're also going to take a look at them, and we can decide on what changes do we want to do next. When I shared it yesterday on the development call, well, one of the main things is that a few developers say that they would like to see is to look more like what's the name of this stuff?
Snapshot.
Yeah, more like a snapshot. Yeah. So that's yeah, we can make it look more like a snapshot. The thing is that it's a very the way it works next to a snapshot is different, but we can give it a look-alike, a snapshot. Later, I guess the main thing here is that we want to test that it works, that the technicalities here work. It doesn't. We want to make it as less technical as possible, but the important thing is that it's usable. For example, right now we can execute any call from the avatar, because you just need to encode the information, encode the data, and propose it, which is of course technical, but that is not a possibility right now on Alchemy, right? You need to create a new scheme or deploy a multi-call. Here, if you want to interact with a new contract, it will be just as allowing. We want to add a permission to call this contract, and later you can execute this call. And that's it. We won't be needing to creating a sheet ton of multi-call schemes to do multiple actions. We'll be able to control the permissions from one scheme or from one scheme at the time. So yeah, that's the thing. I think we are good. We executed a proposal that execute the main three actions. There is sending Ether, DXD, and minting reputation. it consumes 400,000 of gas, which is at the cost today in mainnet near $100 with the gas cost right now. If you want to send Ether, DXD, and mean repetition, 3 actions. So I think it's quite good. So I guess we will be talking with the governance squad to get it finished and to start using it on Arbitrum and XDAI and Rinkeby and playing it around as soon as we can.
Awesome. And just for some context for Shannon Veronica, this is, I think we see this as a huge advantage of the reputation system in going to the multi-chain world, because we're trying to set up these DAO, these bases on these different chains so that we can govern the products. But it's pretty easy for us to just take the prior reputation list and then should port that over to the new chain. So the DAOs on all these chains basically have the same stakeholders and are like the same thing. So this is a kind of exciting thing, especially as we roll up to Arbitrum now and entering our third network that we will have a base on. And then,
Yeah, I remember a month and a half ago, I said that I expected to deploy on XDAI or Arbitrum or one of them at the end of May, and I deployed on both of them. So we are working on Rinkeby, XDAI, and Arbitrum. So it's working on 3 networks right now.
Yeah, Augusto, like one thing, like I think we should try to get on par with Alchemy functionality. Like there are people who just know how to create proposals, like funding proposals. So I think that is something I already said yesterday in the developer call. I think creating a proposal shouldn't mean to share like content hashes and shit like that, but rather very exactly like Alchemy, just fill up the form, press the button, and a proposal should be created. So I would love to see like prioritization on getting like ceramic.network included to make sure that those like proposal information are stored on IPFS automatically.
Yeah, well, there is an issue. There is an issue because I've been exploring around, and there is no way for us of a DAO to ensure the persistency of information on the distributed network like IPFS. This means there is no way that the DAO can ensure that, okay, any content that you upload here, we know we can pay for its persistency. The quickest way that we can fix it is I create like a bot or a small a script bot that is going to listen every time a proposal is created. I'm going to pin it myself. That is not ideal. That is something that we want to move from. That is one that we want to distantiate ourselves. This is how Alchemy was working. So we will have to find a way on it can work for now, right? We can have a bot that is going to pin everything, but I guess it's going to be very important for us to encourage the community to own the information that they are applying and start belonging somehow or being part of, at least in a minimum technical level, because creating an API key in Piñata is just 2 minutes if you follow the instructions there. And you're going to be helping the DXgov by distributing the content even more. So we should encourage that, but still make it usable.
I mean, a simple solution would be to create a DAppNode package, and all like DAppNode people who have a DAppNode at home could just like run the package and then make sure that the content is pinned.
Yeah. If that means a DAppNode package, that can be another solution. Definitely going to look into that.
Awesome. I think the problem with Arweave is it doesn't have integration with ENS. Veronica, that because we run we host the products and the websites are all like through the ENS system, and I don't think there's a way to have Arweave connected to ENS yet.
Yeah, never heard of Arweave. But the way we are doing, we are deploying our website.
We can use Arweave in a manner that we use IPFS, right? Like ENS is not connected to IPFS.
Right.
I was actually talking with one of the founders. Like, there's some interesting people in Miami at Bitcoin Week, but I was talking to one of the founders of SIA, and they had this thing.
John knows him.
Yeah, this like the Skynet, and it they were selling the reasons why it's like even better than Arweave and better than IPFS. So it's worth exploring. Well, you kind of need a few people, I think, to like do stuff on behalf of DXDAO to like get it going, but because you got to like pay on a regular basis, I think. But it's another possibility we could look into.
So, was it David Vorik? I actually had a conversation with him about potentially replacing, like IPFS with Skynet. But I think what was missing currently is that like we need some way for the content hash to actually like resolve to if we set the content hash in ENS, we need a way for somebody to visit a site and like resolve that content hash stored on Skynet. And the last I checked, that wasn't like currently enabled, but it's definitely a good conversation to have and see if we can get there.
Isn't it like a hash like the IPFS hash? Because we're not resolving an IPFS hash, right?
Yes, there are two protocols that are right now supported: is SWARM and IPFS, because you encode the hash of IPFS and SWARM in a way that is deployed on ENS. So later you decode the ENS content registry, and you know if it is IPFS or SWARM protocol. And those are the only two protocols that I think they support. There is an Ethereum improvement proposal and EIP about that. I guess you can add other protocols, but I don't know if they are widely supported.
And there are a couple of use cases. I don't know, it's not really clear. Like people might be thinking different things, right? There's like just storing data, and then there's also like resolving the website and like, serving up the website itself too.
Right. As long as there is no way to resolve those like competitor content, there is no we shouldn't actually talk about it, right? It doesn't make sense for us. Like we shouldn't go back and have like a worse experience for our users. ENS content hash IPFS works pretty fine for now, as long like Skynet can't deliver what we have right now. It is not better than what we have right now.
Maybe we could join forces with other companies and put up a bounty for it, because moving forward it would actually be beneficial.
I think it's actually more than a bounty. Like we should be investing in projects that are like building this, because like literally like no one else has the needs that DXDAO has in this area. So like no one is going to build, like someone would build these products like for us first.
Yeah,
I think we need to be active in this.
But if it is somebody like
right.
Litecoin building it, like whatever the incentive is that they would need to actually prioritize it and build it, and that might be some kind of a grant from us or teaming up with other Ethereum ENS based projects that want
I think
to
this is
like that as well.
The grant. I think we should like figure out how to like put out like an open call for a grant in this, and figure out specifically what it is, whether it's just like serving. Yeah, I don't know what it would be, but there would be, I think this is a great opportunity to fund some research or development.
Yeah, and we can ask other companies to join us as well.
Yeah, the main issue is that we need to ensure the persistency of our data in distributed networks. And what better way to do it with money? I mean, we have plenty of it, so we need to pay for it. But there is no way. I mean, there is no way for any address, for any Ethereum address to say, okay, we pay anyone who is pinning this content. The only project that I know that was working on that was the Swarm client. I think now it's called the B client, where they were designing a payment protocol where you were able to pay for the persistency of certain hashes on the Swarm network. That would be awesome, because if we know that, okay, these are the hashes that we need to pay and we have them on chain, we can later pay for them. But there is that solution is it's far away. I don't know if it continued, but that's something that first we need to figure out how we can enforce the persistency of the content ourselves. Yeah, we are a lot of people. We can find out many ways to it. Like Geronimo said, we can integrate ourselves with DApp node. That would be awesome. And later I can run a script or a bot that is going to be pinning the services, and we can add the option on DXgov to pin, if you have your Pinata API key, to pin all the IPFS hashes from DXgov. That it doesn't necessarily need to be proposals. It can be documents, right? It can be our dApps. There is a lot of hashes that are very important for us on Swarm applications, Omen, DXgov website. So a lot of content that we have on IPFS that we need to distribute. So having a way for later for DXgov where you can actually pin all this, it will also increment the distribution of our dApps in the network, because the user will be able to pin Swapper, Omen, our website, our documents, and we want that. I mean, I guess if it is easy, like 2 minutes where you create an API key or Pinata or any other pinning services, we ensure that the data is going to be there.
No, I think, Augusto, that's the way. Like having like a DApp node package not only for governance syncing, like all the data which we kind of produce from doing governance, but also like all the hosting stuff should be there, and every time the product is getting updated, the package is like checking that and like repinning the new stuff. Yeah, we don't need like hundreds of DApp nodes, but if they're like 15 and they're like DXDAO internal people or like even like community members, that would be awesome. And I think like red boosts for those should also be considered.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah, this is something that we should explore. First, we need to get DXgov up and running. Well, it's already up and running, and later we will have to figure out better ways to distribute our content.
Cool. And just highlighting, Shannon just shared another kind of tool, textile.io, maybe worth checking out too. Awesome. Well, I guess, Augusto, we'll set up a time maybe to go over DXgov stuff, maybe early next week or something. We can do that.
Yeah, definitely. Early next week.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else? Great. All right. Have a good day.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.